Hi, and welcome to White Hat versus Black Hat SEO show. My name is Josh, big hair. Let's save some time and assume I'm right, Pashinsky. And if you've never been to the White Hat versus Black Hat SEO show before, we are one of the finest SEO shows on the YouTubes. That's because we use the highest level of stringent SEO testing and scientific testing to try and find out what are really the ranking factors, as opposed to the guess-EOs who are guessing as to what the SEO factors are. My group came up with that first. Actually, the guy who came up with that first is right here. His name is Jordan Pierce. And that is our, don't ask me why I'm saying this. That is our terminology. And it's kind of funny how the guess-EOs have adopted the terminology guess-EO. But we use the most scientific methods, us and people like us. There's only a couple groups like that. I'd say SIA and Ted and Clint and Kyle's show is like that as well. But anyway, so you're in the right place for SEO knowledge. You're in the right place to learn what's going on for the SEO world. We are effectively the industry because we have scientific testing and measuring. We can reliably rank pages. If you don't believe me, go to bit.ly/SEO proof. That's bit.ly/SEOPROOF and see the results that we can provide. I challenge any other SEO providers out there to show those kinds of results, to compete with us for those kinds of results. None of them have it in such extension, in such depth, with such good success, and so recent either. Ranking results from 2 years ago don't count. So with that in mind, you're in the right place. I'd like to introduce some of the friends of the show. We have Ted Kidbite. Say hi there, Ted.
Hello.
And we have Jordan Pierce, our local guru. Say hi, Jordan.
Hey, everyone.
And then we have a number of other characters here. Dan, George, and Jesper are some of my mentorship students. So welcome, guys. And if you have any questions or if you want to say hello, go ahead, unmute yourself and do that.
There's a
hello. Hi there.
Hello.
Jesper, it must be late where you are right now. You're in Northern Europe, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm in Denmark, Copenhagen. It's 10 o'clock in the evening.
Oh, geez. All right. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask before you want to go to bed there. I'm sure 10 p.m. I'm sleeping, so I commend you for being awake for the show.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get started to what's new in SEO. And it's kind of the same old every week, isn't it? Every week, Google seems to be doing an update, whether Barry Schwartz is reporting on it or not. We have seismic testers for SEO to detect SEO volatility, and we're still detecting that the SERPs are moving up and down quite a lot. They never seem to be really stable. It seems like this is the endless update, people are calling it, and it's just kind of keeping moving on in this direction. My hypothesis as to why this is that because Google is machine learning the ranking algorithms, as they long claim they would, and as they've said they've done, with something called Rank Brain, but other algorithms as well. And I think that the machine learning, I think the AI is learning what the quality raters want to call a ranking factor and what kind of sites they think are good, what kind of pages they think are good. And I think this is going to continue until the machine, until the AI, until Google itself not becomes sentient and kills us. That's not going to happen, I don't think. But becomes sentient enough that it can determine what is a good page from bad, and it's going to narrow in on certain factors that it thinks are the most important ones. It's going to stick with those ones. So that's what I think is going on. What do you guys think is going on? Do you guys think this is the never-ending update, and what do you think the cause is?
When it comes to AI, I'm like really getting burned out with how often it's used as a catch-all answer for anything unexplainable. I think if we invoke AI, we ought to give examples of it for whatever we're invoking it for. Like, for example, in that recent article on SE Roundtable, they mentioned what the Bing person said at SMX about Bing being 90% AI driven. And they give no examples. So I go and I look, I try a few test queries, and it still looks all TF-IDF based to me. 90% TF-IDF base, same as always. So give examples, and if you're going to invoke AI, show me some proof.
Right. when I'm talking about AI and machine learning, I'm talking about feeding it pages that the quality raters are saying are quality, and then it crawls everything about that page and then tries to determine kind of a Bayesian filter where it's going to determine what it's going to rank and what it's not. And of course, that it also is included into all the quality sets of all the clicks they're tracking from everybody that they can track, which I think is just about everybody, anyone on Chrome anyway.
Yeah, and I think it's fine for speculation. Like if you're crafting a theory that you're gonna then try to test against, I think that's fine. But if you're saying, Google has AI for that, well, then that's a big claim. Show me some evidence.
Right. Yeah, no, you're exactly correct. The problem with, of course, long time listeners will be familiar with this rant, but so I'll make it quick. But those new to the show, surprise, the SEO industry is not what it thought it was. They're a bunch of charlatans who are dealing. They're like astrologers, basically. They have no more scientific knowledge of the stars than astrologers do. We're like astronomers or even astrophysicists, where we're actually conducting experiments, making hypotheses, conducting experiments, getting results, proving things, and moving on, and have proof to prove this. Go to bit.ly/SEO proof if you want to see some of my group's scientific proof of the way we do testing and how we applied it in the field. And we get successes most of the time from this. We're one of the only groups, not the only, but one of the only groups online that can boast that. So if the SEO group can't boast that and doesn't have anything similar, they don't have any scientific process, they don't have any scientific hypotheses that they are trying to test through scientific method, using scientific measuring tools such as Cora or single variable tests as well, and various ways of doing that. And they don't have and they don't have a folder like bit.ly/SEO proof where they can show, we can't show you our experiments because we can't out ourselves to Google, but we can show you the results we get by applying our experiments in the field. And that's what bit.ly/SEO proof is. So I hate to break it to you, but you're actually in astrology. You're not in quantum physics. You're not in astrophysics. And you want to be. You want to be in astrophysics. If you want to extend the metaphor to puke-worthy value, if you want to get to the stars, you need to be an astrophysicist and do actual experiments and not be an astrologer. Well, you might as well do a rain dance to make it rain. Yes, Ted.
Astrologers like to be confused with astronomers, but it doesn't work the other way around.
No, yes, that's correct. That is correct. And it's interesting you brought that up, Ted, because speaking of which, as I predicted a couple weeks ago, more of the SEOs, more of the astrologers are claiming that they're science-based SEOs. I'm not going to name any names, cough, cough, chase. And they're offering certifications in their astrology-based SEO. And what is that astrology-based SEO worth? Absolutely nothing. Unfortunately, a fool and their money are easily parted. And so lots of people are still signing on for his certifications, but they shouldn't be. And people should be asking of me, and they do. People should be asking of Ted. People should be asking of Jordan, and they do. People should be asking of Chase. People should be asking of everyone in the SEO industry, what are your scientific proofs? And if the proofs are not sufficiently scientific, you should not accept them. But the problem there is that we have to educate the general populace in SEO as to what constitutes a scientific proof and what does not constitute a scientific proof. Ted, do you have any opinions about the education of people into generally how science works?
Well, just by running the gauntlet myself, my standard of proof is everything is bullshit until I can prove it for myself. And that means ultimately I have to do a lot of testing.
Yes, this is true.
And the sad fact is you won't know if Josh's tests are real or imaginary. He could have photoshopped everything.
Yep.
Until you test it for yourself. And when those results in your personal testing start to have agreement and consistency and are reliable in that way, then you get what is known as trust.
Yes.
But people jump to trust without that history of challenge. And so you need to challenge what you hear. You need to challenge what you believe.
I couldn't agree more. You're entirely correct. And The sad part is that it's going to work itself out. Like science will win in the end. This is what I was having a debate with one of the guest CEOs today, Cough Chase, on Facebook, and I told him, look at, you can offer certifications and you can pull. He's bragging about how much money he's pulling in. I could show you the Facebook Messenger chat if you like. He's bragging about how much money he pulled in. Blah 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 blah. And I said, look at, good for you. However, you have no longevity. I mean, nothing wins. Look to history. Nothing wins the war, the branding war, than over science. Science is going to win the branding war. Everyone and their dog is starting to say they're doing scientific testing. They didn't even talk about scientific testing a couple of years ago, and now Eric Enga and those guys are talking about scientific testing, and they're all talking about scientific testing. And the only people who say you don't need to do it or who don't do it, are the only people who say you don't need to do it or you shouldn't do it, are people who just are too lazy to do it. That it couldn't be any more simple than that. But at least in general, information-based SEO. But Jordan, you're still even doing testing in local as much as such a thing as possible.
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing, even I don't know. I think that our industry is getting more and more. Well, I'll just say there's a lot of BS out there, and the guys that are really doing the testing, both scientifically and in the field, are the ones that are really making things happen, are really leading the way for the entire industry. I just see there's so many people that are claiming to do this or that and really have nothing to show for it. And it's pretty sad in our industry. I wish it wasn't that way, but unfortunately it is.
A quick question for you, Jordan.
Yeah.
Based on your best guess, what percentage of SEO knowledge is evergreen and what percentage of SEO knowledge do you have to kind of rediscover every year?
I would probably have to say, at least for because I do a lot of local, I have to do rediscovery at least every other, about once a month, depending on what I'm testing. So it's, for me, it's 80% because Google alone, they had over 30 updates just with local alone. They've already had probably 3 updates, this year. So for me, because they're doing so many updates, I have to test every single month.
So you're saying that 80% of what you knew last year is no longer applicable this year for local?
I would say for local, I would say probably 40. I would say probably about 60% of what I knew the beginning of last year does not apply for what it is this year.
My number is about 50%. We should be challenging 50% of our experience every year.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean that's a very interesting statement. I mean, part of me would agree. I'd say 50% is a good round number. I would say even 100%. I'm retesting tests on a regular basis. All of it is subject to change. All of it is subject to retesting. As good as my scientific testing is, and I like to say that it is. I don't know, Ted and I get in this friendly debate on a regular basis. But as good as my SVE tests are, everything is subject to retesting. Every core report I run is subject to the next time I run it. Google could have made changes. I could have misread it last time I saw it, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, but
at least we're being honest scientists, right? At least we're being honest scientists and retesting and testing the right way.
Yeah. And I always put in the caveat, at least. So if I start to find that all of my beliefs are untrue, then I have to expand and test more of my beliefs.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that, some things are more likely to change than others. Like keywords and titles will probably be a thing for the next 10 years easily. But, what keyword density is optimal might change from day to day.
It must. If the keyword density is based on the shard collection that comes back and a different shard collection comes back every time, then that's going to fluctuate, right? So when I say shard collection, that's the snippets of pages that Google spits back after you do a search. And then they do a post sort on that shard collection where the keyword density could be computed. Some core reports I look at, it looks to me like that's the case. Quite a lot of keyword. What I like to do with Cora, for those of you who are not familiar, Cora is Ted's correlation software. It is the most powerful SEO software out there. You definitely need to get Quora. I can't wait to tell you this new thing that's coming out with it. Ted told me I couldn't mention it today, so I'm not going to mention it. But it is hands down. Like, remember when Searchmetrics and Moz used to put out these big correlation reports? It is hands down 10 times better than that, and you can work with it daily once Ted has finally done it.
Yeah, it's not a secret. You can talk about it. I'm just not prepared to show it today.
Oh, okay. That's too bad because it's effing awesome. But so basically, it's a correlation piece of software that correlates every search that all the Quora users do and our own searches for our own SERPs of what we're doing, correlating for rankings. It is the measuring tape. It is the scale, right? You can't build a house unless you have a measuring tape. Quora is the measuring tape for SEO. Forget Screaming Frog. Forget everything else that they sold you. Quora is the software you need. If you want to check it out, go to bit.ly/get-Quora. That's bit.ly/get-Quora. 25% off per month there, which is a very hefty discount per month. Check it out. Also, my mentorship group gets free demo accounts for it, and also has an educational discount as well. So also, if you're interested in my mentorship group where we do our scientific testing, you can get it there. Now, enough with the sales pitch. Now, my point is that oh, damn, what was my point? I forget. Oh, yeah, this way. So I use Quora in really different ways and weird ways that people don't use it, right? And if I had it on my Mac here, my Mac is what's facing this direction. Too bad I'm not on my Windows machine because it's a much more powerful machine. I could run Quora on it. But I like to, and Ted, maybe you can comment on this a bit. I like to use your report and use all of the different reports because you can track keywords in different places on the page in like 100 different ways at least for keywords? Probably. You track like over 500 factors in total, but keywords has got to make at least a fifth of that.
Yeah, we're looking at hitting 1,000 factors this year. So,
wow.
I have factors that I can't deploy because I have to figure out how to make it scale on less powerful PCs out in the world.
Right.
But we're very quickly solving those issues, and yeah, we're going to break 1,000 factors. And
are some of those issues going to be the design blocks we talked about?
Some of the things. So it's looking like one of the things we need to do is first get in settings profiles so that people can pick preset profiles for their hardware architecture.
Okay.
And so that way people who have a supercomputer at home can go nuts.
Like me, I bought one really big just so I could run Quora. Well, not just to run Quora, but also to run Quora, right? So, yeah. You have to have a couple hundred of ways of tracking keywords in Quora. And I like to check the actual Quora reports, and they give you a graph of what page, like page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, all the way to page 10. And you can see the line like kind of like being like this. And then page 2 or 3, all the keyword reports do like this. Whoop, they all go up like this hockey stick like that. And I think that's one of these. Now, Google has long told us, they've been very transparent about this part, that they have a post-shard sort. I think that's part of the post-shard sort is that they do some preliminary keyword analysis to get and other processing analysis, semantic analysis to your pages and probably your backlinking pages. And then they do a lot of post-shard sorts. One of them, I think, being keyword density as well. Another one on top of that, because keyword density always strongly correlates on page 2, 3, 2, and 1, but it can fluctuate on the other pages. It also seems to me by looking at Quora, there's just so many different things Quora can show you. Another thing by looking at Quora is that when you look at these graphs, I don't know, maybe you have a couple handy there of what I'm talking about, Ted, but they always fluctuate like a mountain range, and you always seem to see the same kind of fluctuations. And it looks to me like Google's like when you're sorting 100 different results, Google has kind of a what do you want from us kind of mentality. They're always A/B testing. They're always testing what the user is going to click to try and determine maybe what they want / what makes a more high quality web page. And you could see like different factors like keywords is really big on 7, or this kind of keyword in this position is big here, or images are really big on page 5. Like, what, you want images? Here's some image web pages with images in them. And Quora is the kind of piece of software that allows you to delve into these kind of depths and see these kind of hidden knowledge in Google.
Yeah, and if you don't know what a shard is, you can go to YouTube after the show and search for how search works, and it's probably going to be the first or second result with Paul Haar, H-A-A-H-R. And at SMX, he did a big presentation. He's a search engineer from Google, and he goes through the architecture of search. He doesn't really go into the factors.
Yeah. I think Paul Haar is probably the senior engineer at Google. Do you think so?
I don't know if he is or he isn't, but he seemed different than the other Google executives I've encountered before. He seemed more genuine and open to trying to answer questions. I asked him in person at the SMX event he first spoke at when he did How Search Works, whether or not Google was using Open Graph for ranking websites. And he was the first person at Google to ever give me a clear, definitive answer, which was yes. So make sure your Open Graph is properly filled out and tuned.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. And Cora has shown that as a correlation for years now.
Yep.
Okay, so let's get to the questions here. I want to make sure that if anyone asks any SEO questions, we answer them. On the top right-hand side, you can ask your SEO questions, and we will try to answer them for you. Let's see what we can see here. In your testing, can I drive organic YouTube traffic to website to get better rankings? Yes, you can. Lewis Houston asks, I'm just going to quickly go through them. Lewis Houston asks, is link juice is real or just theory? Say I had a site with 100 pages versus a site with 10 pages. Would the link juice get diluted over larger pages? Lewis, the words link juice obviously are a metaphor. So they have to be theory, right? But no, there's definitely a measurable effect from linking. If you've scientifically tested linking, you would know, the way I have, you would know what linking is the most powerful linking there is. I can boost links that you would buy right now, or I would acquire from blogs, cough, cough, acquire. He's using quotations, people. 3 to 5 times from the methods that I've used in my scientific testing. So that, I just want to say, guys, I mean, don't join my science group, join someone else's. I'm not just giving you a sales pitch for my science group, but I cannot stop telling you how important science is. There's only one way you could get such detailed, specific, powerful knowledge in the multifarious way that SEO works, and that's by doing scientific testing, making guesses from the hip, guesses 30,000 feet over there, 5 weeks after you made a change, only allows you to speculate at one tiny little thing at best. And so the way the world has ever made any advancements, it's through science. You need to join a group that is doing specific, stringent scientific testing, and my group is one of those. We have a few spots left if you're interested at secretseo.guru.
You know, if somebody wanted to make a fortune, they should take the popular Google patents and create a layman's cliff notes for the patents. Because this question of is link juice real, really what you're asking is, what is Google claiming in the PageRank patent? Because that link graph that they build PageRank from, that is the embodiment of what links do.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. There's a lot of SEOs out there. You're right. You're totally right. And I would even broaden your statement a little bit. The guy who makes a lot of money in SEO is the one who can explain it in a way to people that they like. And so that's why you see people like Becker, or people like Diggity, or people like Neil Patel, or people like Brian Dean, or people like Chase, making some money doing SEO consulting, probably not as much as they brag and send me screenshots of, for whatever reason they need to prove themselves to me. Actual bank screenshots. The reason why, because they explain it in a way people like to hear. Well, I explain it as best as I can in a way you'll understand. But if it means you're wrong or your website's ugly, I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm like your medical doctor who's going to tell you exactly what's going on based on science. And people like Ted and Jordan are like that too. They're going to tell you what's going on based on science. And we're going to try and sugarcoat it as much as possible. But at the end of the day, you need to be told what is a ranking factor and what is not, and what's probably hurting your site and what's probably not hurting your site. And that's what our job is to do, because we take our jobs very seriously in an ethical way, not just fleecing you for as much money as possible. Like all those other guys I just mentioned, that's all they're trying to do. I have the screenshots to prove it. They're all just trying to fleece you for money. I have all they're talking about, hey, money, we're going to make lots of money, blah, blah, sell my course, blah, 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 blah. That's all they're interested in. Lewis, in my opinion, and I have the proof, so it's more my opinion, but I'll just say it's my opinion so I don't get sued. Lewis Houston says, is entity stacking still viable for new sites to get out of the sandbox? Jordan, you might want to chime in on entities. I'll talk about the sandbox. Go ahead.
Yeah, as far as the entity stacking, it's still a viable source. We teach it. I still use it. As far as my opinion of sandboxing, I don't believe there is such thing as a sandbox. But I'm sure Josh can expand on that a little bit.
I don't need to. I agree.
Yeah.
There just isn't a sandbox. The sandbox is simply a measure of you not having the factors you need versus everyone else who does, including most especially and most importantly, a quality score factor.
Well, the one thing I would say about the sandbox is I think people think of that in terms of a place or a separate index. Historically, I've always referred to it as the amount of time it takes your website to get credit for backlinks. And diagnostically, you can measure this. You can wait to see how long it takes for a new website to get anything to appear with the link operator. And I know people don't put any credit in the link operator, but when you use it as a something versus nothing diagnostic tool, it appears to show you a behavior, and it often will trend with organic traffic. So I referred historically to the sandbox is how long does it take for you to get credit for your backlinks? And in past years, that has been as long as 10 months. I know as of late, it's nowhere near that bad.
Well, let me just do a quick little test here. That's interesting. I don't know about that. That's interesting. Okay.
And I'll just give you guys a little tip. If you guys think there is a sandbox, the best way that you can accelerate that by being out of that sandbox is get yourself a GMB listing. The best way to validate your entity and your brand is having a listing on Maps. So that really helps with that whole process. You'll be surprised too with indexing, by just putting your website in your GMB, that helps with your site from being indexed.
Yeah, the local SEO tactics are amazing. The stuff I've seen Jordan and his group do, I mean, it's literally page one within an hour type of wizardry.
Yes, yes, it is. I've seen it too. I mean, I don't think there's a sandbox. There's no sandbox. It's just it takes a while for you to get ranking factors. And entity is definitely a very important one of them. And I think Jordan's totally correct in that the GMB is one of the best ways to get Google to understand your entity very quickly and probably get some quality signals out of it too. But if you want proof that there's no sandbox, fine. I have that. Go to bit.ly/SEO proof. Scroll down. I think it was 5 or 10 examples ago. A couple people posted their new pages that are ranking and the new sites that are ranking within a week or two or 1 week or 10 days or something. And we were joking about how there was no sandbox in the group. So go to bit.ly/SEO proof if you want the proof. And if you want to know how to do that, then you have to join the group at secretseo.guru. Dan, speaking of one of my mentorship students, Dan in here asks, a little off topic, but I could use some advice. My attorney contacted me last night and I have to change my business name and URL in the next 3 months. You have a similar name as another company, blah, 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 blah. What are the best ways to keep my site content, change URLs, and use the least amount of link power over the years? Or how would you lose the least amount of link power is, I guess, what you're asking, Dan. Well, if you got to change your URL, you got to change your URL. So you could change to an EMD or a PMD to try and get that boost and that bonus there. You might have to engage in a little black hattery if you do that, or you definitely have to make sure your white hat CRO is off the charts. Good if you want to rank that PMD or EMD and keep it there. But otherwise, yeah, you're gonna have to change. And you're gonna lose rankings, and you're just gonna lose link juice if they're not going to 301 the old address to you. You could go to old links and ask them to update them. You can't 301 redirect all pages to the index page because that's a soft 404. So Google is just going to cut off that link juice anyway. So if the old company will do a 301, root level 301 or a page level 301, that would be good. But otherwise, if you got to change your URL, you got to change your URL. And if you're changing it because some companies said you're using our name, you don't like that, I strongly doubt they're going to give you a 301. Or they might, I don't know, but you need to ask. Marco Logman asks, what is your recommended way to find keyword cannibalization on a site? And what are tips to keep in mind when trying to solve this? The recommended way is to go into Search Console and to see what's ranking, what pages are ranking for each query. You're going to notice and then see what the breakdown is. If you're trying to rank for wooden toys, for example, and then Google breaks it down to 10 different pages, and they've tried 10 different ones over the last year or so, but one page they've tried the most, then that's probably pretty good. But if you see huge breakdowns where they're trying this page for a while, and then they broke it down to this page for a while, and they broke it down to this page for a while, that's where you're going to see the kinds of problems. The other thing you could do, and the only thing it's good for, Screaming Frog, is you could spider your whole site and see what pages are very, very similar. You could also check Search Console's duplicate titles report and see if there's any duplicate titles to see if those are too similar as well.
Put your blog on a different domain.
Put your blog on a different domain. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like having the blog on the same domain. I know, Jordan, you don't either. Even just from a troubleshooting perspective, it's hard to diagnose what's going on when there's too much keyword cannibalization and your blog is trying to rank for every variation of a certain kind of phrase that really one page would have sufficed for. There is a proper way to I lost my train of thought completely.
Well, yeah, if you're, say, a plumber in central Illinois and you have 350 localized variants of your plumbing service and location keywords, you don't need 350 blog posts. What you do need are 350 optimized landing pages for pay-per-click advertising to get your ideal quality score. And so you sitemap those with a something in the footer, a sitemap menu in the footer where you get all those landing pages, but you keep your primary navigation on the website short and simple and sweet and to the point. And then when Google asks you about those 350 pages, you can show them, hey, I'm just optimizing landing pages for AdWords, which is common practice.
Oh, okay. That's very interesting. So
that's a good pro tip. I like that.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that, Jordan. Yeah. Yeah. Because from an SEO perspective, it's awfully Ted's being a bit, maybe he's not being tongue in cheek. I'm not sure. I don't want to put words in your mouth, Ted, but it is a good practice from an SEO perspective that you do need these doorway pages if you want to rank. If you want to rank in plumbing Fort Garry, Winnipeg, you need to have a plumbing Fort Garry, Winnipeg, Manitoba page. Or plumbing, whatever, Steinbach, Manitoba, to continue with the Manitoba example, just because that's where I was born and raised. So that's what you're going to need. But of course, that's against their guidelines because they don't want you doing that for some reason. That's an interesting explanation, not an excuse, an explanation that Ted just gave us that, hey, they're just there for a pay-per-click.
If you're serious about pay-per-click, you're building those pages anyway.
This is true. You need to get a quality score to get ads and get them seen. So that's the answer to that. Dejan asks, he says, I don't have questions, but I just want to say thank you for showing me what SEO really is and how to fight all the SERP problems and challenges. You're welcome, Dejan. Thank you for joining the mentorship group and being a good student. Michael says, you say that keywords play a big role for better rankings. However, I think that just having this area of SEO perfected will not be enough to get good rankings. Backlinks are still a must, right? You don't have to be coy, Michael. Just ask me if backlinks are a ranking factor. I'll tell you. And yes, they are. Previously, one of the guess-EOs, Chase Briner, was guess-EOing that links were not required without any proof and challenged anyone to refute him. And then finally someone did, I saw on his forum, and they did some tests in the field where they pointed links at pages, I believe, or something along those lines. And now suddenly he's backtracking on that. Okay, guys, I guess links are a ranking factor. Okay. So
that may have been a publicity stunt.
Yeah, everything he does is a publicity stunt. There's not only backlinks, there's way other ranking factors than that. There are way other ranking factors than that you need to scientifically isolate and scientifically test for how not to go too far over, how to not to go too far under, where the exact maximum boost is. Science tells you the maximum boosts of many different ranking factors. Quora also helps you see the maximum boost of many different ranking factors. So it's not just, you don't have to be coy and ask me if backlinks are a ranking factor. I'll tell you, of course they are. Yeah, you can rank in some niches with just keywords. You don't need many links. But if you have a couple other things, you'll rank even better. Lewis Houston says, can we see the Facebook Messenger chat of Chase bragging? Sure, email me and I'll show it to you. If you care. Let's see. Josh, do you consider retesting silo base of how Clint do it? I'm always retesting links and potentially silos. Currently, my testing shows right now that silos still aren't going to help you. They're not going to hurt you as badly as they did a few months ago. Google has made changes to internal links and how they're processing them. But it's still not good enough, really. In my opinion, silos are not the atom bomb. In my opinion, Clint, I love you. You're great. But in my opinion, based on my scientific testing, silos are not the SEO atom bomb that a lot of people say they are. I'm not saying Clint says that. I have no idea what Clint says regarding this. I haven't talked to him about it for over a year. In terms of silos, I don't think they're a fantastic ranking factor. I don't think that they're the atom bomb kind of SEO strategy. I don't think they're required. I don't think they help that much. I know much better ways, much more efficient ways, much more scientifically vetted ways to do it. And I got that through scientific testing. But if I've got it wrong somehow and these people want to show me something different, then they can always show me their data. Bubble Soccer Minnesota says, schema, should you put both local service and service schema on the homepage or leave service schema for individual service pages? Yes, the service schema is supposed to go on the service pages. The business schema can go on the index page if that's where you're also going to have your address and contact information. Google is pretty specific about schema and where they want it. Product schema on product pages, service schema on service pages, business schema on the contact page or the About Us page and or the index page, stuff like that.
What if you have one of those fancy new one-page websites that just scrolls to sections?
I don't know enough of how Google crawls that. I think they concatenate the entire page. And so I don't think you'll be able to do that.
Page.
Sorry?
It's just one page.
Yeah, well, then I don't think you'll be able to take advantage of any kind of page-based ranking boosts that you would get on different pages by having a different multi-paged on the site.
So does that mean somebody with a one-page site should just put it in there and hope for the best?
No, in my opinion. Sorry, Jordan, go ahead.
Well, first of all, probably putting schema on your homepage is kind of a pain in the butt. And I've seen a lot of issues with that. So, I mean, for just a one-page site, you're probably going to have it separated.
Okay, so new site.
Yeah, that's what I would recommend. Maybe in local you see it a little bit more. Jordan, correct me if I'm wrong, please. But usually you don't see a one-page site that is ranking very highly for very much. You can do it, But the name of the game is, especially when Google's doing all this machine learning, if they think that having at least 5 pages on the site and or having contact terms and an About Us page are required for a quality site, because every human being that looks at them and tells the machine that's what they want to see, then if you don't have that, you never know if there's a ranking factor against it. So risk mitigation, I don't think that it's a good idea to have just one page.
Well, the reason I bring it up is if you go to, Monster Templates or Theme Forest or any one of those places, they're all designing these one-page designs now.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that if enough people start running those pages, then Google will have to change their algorithms if and only if they think that by doing so, it will make the search results better. If they can cut out all those pages and still maintain their quality, they won't even notice there's a problem. Never mind, be happy to do so. Matthew Marin, the wonderful Matthew Marin, says, any tips on climbing into the top 1, 2, 3 ranking spots in the legal field against massive sites like FindLaw, Justia, Super Lawyers that seem to get dedicated slots, Quora, Pop, limited utility?
Well, the first thing you'll see well, it's probably not the first thing you'll see, but what you can see in a Quora report is that those massive directory sites are usually working on a keyword density at around 10%. And you look at the other competing sites, the local business, and they're all hovering at between 2 and 4%. And recent testing has hinted that that might matter. So I would take a look at that. And it's not about having a ton of content. The testing showed that you can have 500 to 1,000 words with higher density and beat 30,000, 40,000 word pages. So I would look at the density. I'd probably experiment on that front if I was going up against those directories.
Yeah, just because the directories are there doesn't necessarily mean they're placed there by QDD. One might be, and the other two could be there because of keyword density or because they have the ranking factors that they need. They provide what the people are looking for. If their website or the web page provides what the people are looking for, then it's going to show up there. And you got to kind of make yourself indispensable in that regard. Not to toot the white hat horn, but it's correct in this case. If you're not making your page the best answer to that search query, then it doesn't matter all the scientific testing you do and all the black hattery you try. It's not going to work very long. You'll stay there for a few months, then it'll change. You have to have good conversions. You have to make your page the best answer to that search query, honestly, and not in your subjective opinion, but in the opinion of everybody who goes there in the Hotjar or Crazy Egg you're tracking, and you're watching what they're doing, and you know for a fact that your page satisfies that query, and you're hoping better than everybody else because you can't see their quality. That's the problem. So not easily anyway. We can make inferences to it, but so you can rank up against them. It's possible. I don't see any reason to say it's impossible. Is it difficult? Yeah, it'd probably be very difficult, but I don't see any reason to say it's impossible. And they could be there just because of keyword density. It doesn't necessarily have to be query deserves diversity. Christopher Risme asks, has anyone tried Chase's optimizer software? Yes, I spoke to Mr. Reiner about his optimizer software today, which I called it Quora Lite because he pretty much kind of ripped off the idea from Ted. After Ted released Quora, then Chase came out with his software. After I released a science group, then he came out with his science group.
In all fairness, it's not Quora. Quora does correlation to tell you which factors appear to influence the results. So when Google does an update, Quora will actually update what it recommends right along with it. Chase's software is a measurement tool. So he goes and measures specific things, which is kind of similar, but there's no correlation. He's not doing the math. He's hard-coded Chase's wisdom into the software. And so when Google updates, his software doesn't change along with it. It's hard-coded to Chase's wisdom.
Yes, and I will remind people that Quora will soon track 1,000 factors. Chase's wonderful software tracks 10 whole factors. You counted him, 10 whole factors that rest the entirety of SEO that surely you will rank. That was sarcasm.
But it's a measurement tool, and as a measurement tool, it's okay. It gives you measurements.
Ted's very nice. I'm much more harsh. It's a piece of crap, and anyone who uses it is an idiot, and anyone who listens to Chase is also an idiot. That's my statement, not anyone else's on the panel. All right, Super Turbo says, should I have any concern hiding a mobile menu? Would it look like hidden links on the desktop version? All the links would be local internal. No, I don't think you can. I don't think you have to worry about hiding the mobile menu. That's perfectly fine. Are you going to replace them on the desktop version? I'm guessing you're saying they'll be hidden on mobile and then they will be visible on the desktop version, or you'll have double links. Double links is not necessarily a problem either. Google will still find your pages. I don't think that will be a problem. Do any of you guys think that will be a problem?
I don't think so.
Christopher Ramsey asks, anyone tested Google Posts and SEO boosting? Yes, we've tested a lot of Google Posts. Well, we've tested Google Sites. We haven't tested Google Posts yet. Jordan, have you done much testing with Google Posts yet?
We're talking about the listing posts?
I guess that's what they're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, we're in my group. We're doing a new test this month for GMB post. So
sweet, excellent. And now that Flash wants to update. Okay, there we go. For the Furman UK asks a question for Ted. Is keyword density percentage the number of times the keyword is mentioned on the page, Ted?
No, that's the match count. So how many times you use your keyword or your variant keywords is a match count. Keyword density is the ratio of the match count to the overall number of words on the page. And there's literally about 6 million different ways to calculate a keyword density. And the way I do it in Cora is a clean keyword density, which is we strip out the head block, we delete any scripts and style sheets, then we delete all the HTML tags. And then of the text that's left over, we count the matches and we count the words. And I don't include any 1- and 2-letter words. So I even do a very conservative word count to get at that density. And that number is usually what people are thinking about when they say keyword density. But again, different tools can give different numbers. So when someone says never exceed a 4% keyword density, your first question should always be exactly how did you calculate that?
Definitely. There's Google uses a lot of different complex ways of determining what a lot of people just lump into keyword density just to be to make it easier. So like TF-IDF, different things. So definitely you have to LSI, whatnot. You definitely have to be careful as to what you're tracking there, because it can, and scientific testing has shown it can differ quite a bit and make a huge amount of difference what way you're calculating it there. Chase Reiner SEO actually popped on and said, I wish I could listen to this, but I'm currently on a call about to close a $4,000 lead. Well, 3 things about that. One, obviously you are listening, otherwise you wouldn't have commented. Talk to me when you're closing leads that are more than $4,000. That's a bit of a small lead for people of our level of experience. And finally, as I mentioned before, clearly all he cares about is money. So if you listen to Chase Reiner, if you think he has good things to say about SEO, you have been duped. He's a used car salesman. I wouldn't listen to a single thing he says because he provides no proof. And clearly here he only cares about money. If you want to see more proof about how he only cares about money, email me and I'll show you the conversation that we had on Facebook earlier today. It's my opinion. I could see Ted ready to say something differently. It's my opinion that the Guesseos have been put on notice. They're all on notice.
Here's the thing. I mean, you can be awesome at ranking in Google, and that's probably using good science. And you can be awesome at getting the best profits, and that's being good at business. And business is an art. So, being good at the art of a business does not mean you're necessarily good at the discipline of a science, So I think they're conflating 2 different things. And, you know, hats off to Chase if he's making good money. I hope everybody does.
That's a very good point.
But I hope his clients are making more.
And they're not, and they won't for long. Ask Chase to provide anything even remotely as in-depth and as comprehensive as bit.ly/SEO proof. He doesn't and can't. The only 2 ranking examples I've ever seen from him, one of them was a legacy site that pretty much ranks itself. It was already ranking that he just maintains, and it's in his analytics. The other one was a complete and utter lie for a website he cherry-picked out of SEMrush, and he or somebody on his team photoshopped no links being there. I have that proof as well if you want to see his complete and utter lie when he wanted to push the bullshit that links don't help you rank. So I'm dead serious. I'm putting all the SEOs on notice. I'm putting anyone who doesn't try and take SEO methodology into effect for making their SEO recommendations on notice as much as possible in our pathetic little niche where Google controls most of the cards. At least we can do a little bit of science, but people aren't even doing that in the industry. Well, they're not in the industry. They're in the they're salespeople. They're used car salesmen. We are SEOs. We track, we measure, we scientifically define, we scientifically test, we prove ranking factors, and we prove results. Go to bit.ly/SEO proof. They do not do any of these things. They speculate, they sell, they swindle, they guess. They have the gall to call other people SEOs, which is our term that we made up, and they have the gall to call out other SEOs for SEOing when they're fucking SEOing themselves. It makes me quite angry, as you can tell. So I have to strongly recommend to watch out for these people. And if don't take my word for it, go ask them. Go ask them for their proof. I repeat, do not take my word for it. Go ask. It doesn't matter if it's Reiner. Reiner is going to be done in 5 years. He's going to be out of this industry. He's going to be done. It doesn't matter if Reiner is saying those things. Go ask anybody else in the industry. Go ask Eric. Go ask Slosky. Go ask Terry. Go ask the Gypsy. Go ask all these guys, all these legacy guys who've been in this industry for approaching what Ted and I have been, and Jordan has been in this industry for as well. What their proof is for their beliefs, what the scientific proof is that they have. If the proof isn't scientific, it's not good enough. And now you need to start, and the whole industry is going to be moving towards scientific proof, right? I already predicted this. You cannot win the branding war against science. If you try to say my astrology is better than science, you're going to lose. The people who didn't vaccinate their children are now getting measles. That's the way it works. Climate change is now kicking our ass. That is the way it works. The scientists were right. Sorry, admit it, move on. So in SEO, the same thing's going to happen. You cannot beat science in the branding war. We're going to consistently produce better results over time than the people guessing, and people are starting to notice. My mentorship group is almost completely full, and other science-based groups are quite full as well. The SEO's time is over. And so I tried to politely tell this to Mr. Reiner earlier today, in which he essentially spat in my face and joked about how much money he was making and said it was pathetic I wasn't making as much. I asked how he knows that, by the way. I've never been so desperate that I've taken a screenshot of my banking statements and sent it over to him, so he has actually no fucking clue how much I'm making. I know exactly how much he's making, though, because whenever he makes a little bit, he sends it over to me. I have the screenshots to prove it.
Someone pushed your button.
No, not at all. Well, yes, I admit I'm a little angry, and let me tell you why. It's not because people are being jerks, and the reason is because there's clients who are caught in the middle of this. It's exactly what Jordan said earlier, is that people hire us to help them, and if we are not doing our scientific best to do so, who in the fuck are we to offer those services? We have no ethical justification for doing so. It's my duty to do these scientific tests to try to know as much as possible, as much as I can, as much as Google will allow me to pry from their black box of bullshit what their effing ranking factors are. And I do this, I have a team of 12 people doing it on a regular basis. I have a team of people always doing these scientific testing, repeating tests dozens of times if we need to, just so I have the best SEO knowledge, and I share that with all my scientific groups so we can peer review our tests, because that's what science requires. Even when it looks like I could be wrong, even when even when it would be much better monetarily for me and for my ego to keep all my results to myself and not tell anybody. I still share them with groups like Ted and Jordan and Clint and Kyle, and we test each other's tests, and so we get better at knowing what the actual SEO ranking factors are for you, so clients are not getting billed.
Yeah, it's easy to spot when people have data, because people who have data like share it. They share enough. They share their methodologies. It's not just conclusions when you have the data. And it doesn't take much digging to find out whether or not people have any data. So, yeah, you just got to ask, what are you using that supports this claim? Can you show me how you got that?
Indeed, and thank you, Ted. So that's the segue, is that's where the industry is going. It's going more and more towards science-based SEO, because you cannot win the branding war against science, which some people are trying to do right now. So let's say, okay, let's table that discussion. Let's say, okay, now that everyone who has half a brain realizes that you need to hire an SEO who's been doing or is part of one of these scientific groups or been doing this scientific testing, and that is their whole philosophy, that is their whole raison d'etre, that is their whole modus operandi, to use as many other languages as I can. Now, how do you tell a good scientist from a bad one? Well, you need to be able to tell what good science is from bad science, and you have to look at their method and look at their results, as Ted mentioned. Now, the sad thing about this is that I can't just release all my results, because Google will see that and then they'll change everything or mess around with my test results, just like they did for our good friend Kyle. Fortunately, that got leaked one of his test sites, and suddenly that test site, was gone. Blah, 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 he had a bunch of problems with his sites. Blah 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 blah. But I can show you the in the field proof that when we apply our tests, we get these results in the field, and that's bit.ly/SEO proof. I can show you with that. And even if I photoshopped 50% of those things in there, there's still 100 pieces of proof in there that we know what we're doing for ranking. And these are current ever since, all these relevance updates that have been going on. So clearly we have some idea what's going on there. Okay, so now someone's here saying they're Chase Reiner. I don't think that is him. Clearly he's not listening to me, because he's bragging more about the money he made. Woohoo, 4K in the bank. I almost broke 50K this month. And Jordan asks, how your client doing? Okay, I can see this quickly going downhill, so I'm going to table this for now. All right, so does anyone have any real SEO? No, it's past 2 o'clock. We'll quit the show anyway. So I just got, guys, learn how to tell good science from bad. You already know how to do it when you go for medicine, right? You don't, I hope most of you don't go just to a homeopath or a naturopath or people who don't have a lot of science behind them. And for medicine, you go to an MD who has science behind them. At least primarily, I hope that's what you do. If you want to also offset with those guys, fine. But primarily for your health, I hope you go to the person with all the empirical science behind them. And you can tell the difference between a charlatan there, a snake oil salesman there who's really charismatic and really slick and has really nice videos, as opposed to a medical doctor who's a little boring, has glasses, listen to me, a little nerdy, but they have the effing science behind them. And I hope you can tell the difference between that. If you can't, sorry, you're not going to live very much longer. I hope you learn very quickly. In SEO, your business is not going to last very much longer either. You need to learn the difference between, now the battle's really going on there. You need to learn the difference between charlatan SEOs who have no proof and no scientific method or procedure, and even ones in that group who say they do, but they really don't. You need to listen for the ones who say they do, who even use our very language. Guessio was something that Jordan came up with. That was his term. Then our group started saying it. I started saying on the broadcast, and then he stole that, just like he steals everything else good that he knows. You need to learn the SEOs who say they're doing science or not, because this is going to be from 2019 on. That's what's going to happen, right? All the rest of the industry is going to die, and they're just going to exist at SMX conferences, and they're basically doing SEO for Fortune 500 companies that don't really need SEO anyway, and they're not really doing that good. When you poll them, Barry Schwartz polls them all the time, and 10% are getting out of SEO entirely, and 60% are moving away from it. They're not doing good on SEO. When Martin McDonald put out a poll of how good their SEO was doing, only 15% were doing any good at all. 80%, 85% were doing terribly. So that group is not the SEO industry. They're not doing very good at all for any of the not scientific polls, but there are polls. Some of the polls that have been done, they're not doing very well at all. Ask them. Just go to any single John Mueller hangout and listen to people complaining about their rankings. The story is the same every time. John, I don't know what to do. My rankings have fallen because Google is fucking them hardcore because they don't know science. And now the industry is going to move towards science because I'm talking about it for the most part, and other people are doing it. You can't win against the science brand war. So the science brand is going to win out eventually. But then now you're going to have to listen to a different kind of charlatan, and this is even worse. And I want to prepare you for this. They're going to talk about science. They're going to use the kind of language we use, like SEO and things like that. But they are actually a SEO, and they don't actually do any science. They don't actually provide any science. They don't actually provide any proof. They can't speak intelligently about the scientific method in general or their methods for testing SEO in particular, the way Ted can, the way I can, the way Jordan can, the way Kyle can. That's what you need to look for. All right? It's the most important piece of SEO knowledge you're going to get all year is you need to tell the difference between real SEO scientists and fake SEO scientists. Okay, so that is the end of my rant for today. I hope it was helpful. I would like to thank Ted, Jordan, Jesper, Dan, and George for being here. Ted or Jordan, do you have any final comments you want to make?
You mind if I plug my show, or should I not?
Oh, no, by all means, go ahead.
Yeah, if you want to see what disclosing the data looks like in SEO, go to YouTube, search for SEO Fight Club. We have 2 episodes. We start by showing you the data.
Perfect. There you go.
And I'll just add, I really think that this year is going to be a very interesting year. If you thought that there was a lot of updates last year, I think that this year it's going to be even more important to get in some type of scientific group, getting Quora, so that you really know what's going on every week, because they're doing shit every single week. So that's my message going forward for this year.
I would agree. And hopefully do that before your business, it's too late, before you don't have the margins to get the medical help you need, so to speak. Just think of SEO like a medical problem, and then so much of your business decisions become better from that regard. All right, guys. Well, I hope you had fun watching. I had fun ranting, as I usually do. And as I always say, good luck in the SERPs. And for those about to rank scientifically, we salute you, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.